Howdy do to all of you. Welcome back to the VGU.TV YouTube channel. And I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the Black Ops Cold War beta. I'll go ahead and say right off the top here, I got some gameplay going from my weekend playing the beta. I'll say right now that there might be some discrepancies in the gameplay. I decided when I was playing it, I was like, man, I'm doing really good this match. I should go ahead and start recording. But I was already playing for like an hour at that point. So some of the gameplay is going to be from my share button on the PS4 console. So it'll be, I think, lower resolution, maybe, definitely lower frame rate. And then the rest of it is going to be straight up from my capture card from my Elgato. So that's, you might see some changes here or there on that level. So there is your heads up on that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into my thoughts on this. So for those of you who don't know, I am a pretty big Call of Duty person. I play every single game in the series. Whether or not I get it at launch, that's a different question. But I do play this. I do play these games very regularly. And yeah, Modern Warfare, the one that came out last week, good God, last year, that is a very, very, very good game in my opinion. Probably one of my favorites. I think it currently is my favorite Call of Duty game as far as its multiplayer offering goes. Of course, if we were talking single players, Infinite Warfare would get brought up right here, but we're not talking about single players here, just the multiplayer. And when it comes to multiplayer, Modern Warfare is definitely my jam. And so since I love that game, I was kind of nervous about Black Ops Cold War here because Treyarch games, I always feel like I should love the Treyarch titles more in theory than I actually do in practice. The thing about the Treyarch games compared to we're gonna leave Slaughterhouse. We're gonna leave Sledgehammer Call of Duties out of this equation because Sledgehammer, they made what, World War II and Advanced Warfare. So leaving those on the side, we're gonna look at the Infinity Ward type multiplayer games versus the Treyarch multiplayer games. Now Treyarch worked on Call of Duty World War here, or Call of Duty Cold War here, and they tend to put their games more towards the balance side, where they prioritize balance and making sure everything's more cohesive as a whole over everything else, which leads them to having longer times to kill, leads the impact of some of the guns not feeling like they hit as hard, and it just leads to a more standardized set of game variables, but it also kind of flattens them all so that nothing really speaks loudly over each other. Where it feels like the mantra of the Infinity Ward games, we're talking the most recent Modern Warfare, and also, you know, the other Modern Warfare games, and of course Infinite Warfare, Call of Duty Ghosts, they're all about the speed. So they really just want things to be as quick as possible, which leads to very fast times to kill. You know, you'll die in 1, 2, 3 bullets sometimes. Super speedy times to kill. Fast movement as well, and it just feels like everything's happening in a split second, which increases the chaos. And as somebody, once again, if you know me, you know I love Titanfall 2 with my whole heart. So I'm totally down for the higher times to kill, crank it up a little bit more to the chaos of things. That's more my flavor, and my love of Modern Warfare is a big example of that. But despite that, even if it took me a little while, I think I am digging Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War here, but it's just taken me a while. So I'll explain why. So because the time to kill is a little bit lower, or I guess higher here in Cold War, it doesn't feel as satisfying to take out an enemy. And also when you see like 2 or 3 enemies in front of you, that is not... in other faster time to kill games, if you see 2 or 3 enemies, you get excited because you're like, oh man, I can get myself a collateral, get myself a double kill, triple kill. But that's not the case in this game. When I saw more than 1 enemy, I had to learn to run away because the time to kill is just high enough to where by the time you're done killing an enemy, the one that's behind them will always put their sights on you before you can get to them. So I just try to stay off of that and really try to pick your battles. And because the time to kill is a little bit higher, it kind of turns that knob into being much more paced out in how you move around the map and everything, where usually in these games, in Call of Duty games or any game with this type of style of multiplayer, I tend to just run around like a chicken with my head cut off and just get into as many fights as I can and worry about the tactics once I have my sights on a player. Like, I'm very impulsive when it comes to these games, and it's kind of a brain dead way of playing it, but that's also kind of my comfort zone when it comes to games like this. I like to just run around and not really think about the tactics that much. But Black Ops Cold War really makes you think about the tactics. I have to think about, all right, this enemy was over here. Let me make sure I'm running around and I have my awareness up so I'm not just sprinting. I want to make sure I keep the gun aimed at all times. I don't want to be running with my gun down. It really makes you think in that way about its combat. And I mean, once I started figuring that out, because initially when I was playing this, was not having the best time. I was getting frustrated because I just kept dying. And I actually played this in the alpha that happened a couple weeks back. So starting with that alpha, I was just not having the best time, and it was getting frustrating because I was trying to treat it like it was Modern Warfare or any of the other countless Call of Duties before it. And you just can't treat it that way. You have to sit here, you have to pace it out, you have to just have more awareness of the battlefield rather than the split-second decision-making of just popping somebody, getting the kill, being the one to shoot first. So, yeah, once I learned that, once I realized that, I started to have more fun. And also, what gun you're using definitely matters a lot more here. Where in Modern Warfare, the fact that they have all the gun classes, of course, you got your assault rifles, your sniper rifles, your LMGs, anything else. Shotguns are now secondaries, by the way. But all of those classes of weapons, they all felt fast when you handled them. Like, no matter what, yes, they have different handling stats that technically should make them a little less fluid in certain situations. Like, you wouldn't go on the tiniest map in the entire franchise, Shipment. You probably wouldn't go on Shipment with a sniper rifle unless you had a Death Witch, because those guns are notoriously slow to handle. And of course, my phone goes off. Wouldn't be a piece of VGU content if my phone didn't go off. And while I mute that, I'll continue. So the thing in Modern Warfare, despite some of the weapons not being made for certain situations, it felt like you could make them work with any situation. Where shotguns, you throw slugs on there, you put enough barrels and stabilizers on there to where you can actually aim with them, then it feels like you can get away with turning a shotgun with slug rounds into a sniper rifle, give it similar handling traits, and it can still be fast. Basically, you can spec every single weapon for speed if you wanted to. Where in this game, it might just be because, starting at level 1 in this beta, you have to unlock all of the attachments, manually. You have to play through the ranks. I was playing a lot of these weapons straight up naked with no attachments on them, and I could really feel the weight of, let's say, the assault rifle. I want to say it's the XMB assault rifle. I might be wrong on that, but it's that starting assault rifle you get. I used that for my first few games, and it definitely felt like a much more substantial weapon. I didn't feel like the handling I got down perfect on it because it just didn't aim as fast as I wanted to. It just wasn't that much of it wasn't meant for quick reflexes. It was meant for posting up and locking down and then getting your shots off. And then once I switched over to an SMG finally, the MP5, I started to have a much better time with everything. Because that gun is, by way of it being an SMG, meant for you to be running around faster and just sprinting around and just getting all your shots off very, very quickly. And so that's the first thing I had to learn there. And as you'll see, I'm sure a decent bit of this gameplay is with the MP5. That is what I've been vibing with. That is what I've been digging. And I enjoy it a lot. So that's one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is... Because after I had fun with the MP5, I actually did go back to the assault rifles. And once I got the AK-47, I started to play a little bit more to the strengths of the AK-47. I started to play just a little bit more slow and pace it out just a little bit more to where I'm not just running into engagements like a chicken with my head cut off once again. So that's one thing. So that much is fun. I will say, once again, in the Infinity Ward Call of Duties always very much so value speed, and I know that in all of the Call of Duty games nowadays, especially Treyarch put this concept that I'm about to talk about into motion. But the guns up mentality, where no matter what, they want you to have your gun on its hip, ready to fire at any time. So when you're throwing a grenade, you can still shoot somebody from the hip. If you're climbing over a ledge, you can still shoot somebody from the hip. And that's still here in Cold War. The only issue I have is that it feels a lot slower to do those things, even if you still have your gun available. So like throwing grenades, it's no longer just pull out the grenade and toss, like an action that takes maybe a second, if even that. Now there's an animation for picking up the grenade, putting it towards your mouth, pulling out the pin, and then you hold it back, and then you get to cook it, of course, but then you're just holding it and holding it and holding it. I don't think my mic was turned up. Oh, well, it's fine. And you're just holding this grenade until you want to toss it. And the animation just to get it to the point where you can actually throw it and let go takes like 2 or 3 seconds. So almost 2 to 3 times longer than it's taken in previous games. And that just really messes up your vibe when you're really trying to just chuck a nade in there real quick before you run in yourself. It just kind of messes with the flow, and you just got to take that time in your head to just turn down the aggression just a little bit more. And the weird thing is, items like stun grenades don't have that delay, so it's not consistent in that right. Maybe it's just to avoid spam frags, I guess, but I'm not exactly sure what that choice is there for. And then also talking about jumping over ledges and stuff and mantling, that is a very slow animation. It feels like you come to a complete stop whenever you're mantling something. And it's no longer like it used to be where you're jumping over something very quickly. No, it takes several seconds for you to... It feels like it takes several seconds for you to stop and jump over something, which feels unintuitive. But also, you know, maybe you should just go around if you want that situational awareness to still be there. But in any case, those are some critiques there. I will say some things that I'm enjoying about it. Like I said, the gunplay is still very satisfying. That higher time to kill has a different effect, because I've talked about this previously in some other pieces of content on the site, where in Modern Warfare, when you're shooting a gun, because the recoil is like so much more aggressive in its animation, like they animated the guns to make the recoil feel more pronounced, it feels like you're like holding a... It's like when bull riders get on the bull and they're trying to just stay on top. That's what it feels like when you're trying to shoot a gun. You're just trying to do everything in your power to just keep that gun on target despite the shaking it's doing. And it makes every kill in that game feel really satisfying. Where here, it feels like they still have the very aggressive visual recoil, but there is no weapon flinch, number one, which, you know, is a godsend. Meaning, you know, you get shot while you're shooting at someone, your sights don't move at all, which is great. And the recoil feels a lot lower overall on most of the weapons I've used, with the exception of maybe the AK-47. But the recoil feels less pronounced here. And once again, it might just be an animation thing rather than an actual statistical measurement of the reticule moving. But it feels like things are tilted a little bit more to make guns more accurate and just reward the person who's getting their sights on first. And because the time to kill is so high, now when I say so high, it might still only be a bullet or two more than in the Modern Warfare games. But because the time to kill is higher, it feels like it requires more skill in your aiming to me. Because in Modern Warfare, you're trying to wield this gun and you're trying to shoot it every which way. All you need is like 2 bullets to hit and you got your kill. Where here, it feels like you need to remain on target for a much longer time. And of course, this is from the standpoint of automatic rifles. So, you know, your assault rifles, your SMGs, things like that. You just have to stay on target a lot longer. Haven't used much of the sniper rifles. I've used a little bit, but I haven't used those too much. And then also I haven't used like too much of the shotguns either, because with these maps here, a lot of these maps are bigger, don't really have too many opportunities to use a shotgun, but it just seems like they want you to sustain your aim for much longer, which I don't know if that's something I dislike or like. It does give me a similar feeling to in Modern Warfare, you're fighting that recoil so aggressively that once you get your kill, it feels satisfying. Where here, you're just trying to get so many bullets on the enemy that once you finally hit all your bullets, it feels satisfying. So it kind of has that similar vibe, but it accomplishes it in a completely different way. So that's all nice and good. Color wise, I feel like the colors in this game are a little bit more vibrant, which I like. You know, brown and black shooters are plenty in the world, so it's nice to see Black Ops Cold War bringing back a little bit more color, especially in the Miami map with the neon lights and everything. That's all great. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, I'll say map design is a little bit meh. The maps in this game, even let's go back to the Miami map. That map is actually pretty fun. It's think like Bad Boys 2, Miami Strip type stuff. It's definitely a fun environment just aesthetically, but design wise, because it is it should be a very tight and claustrophobic map, but because it's the Strip, it's on the beach side. So there's a whole side of the map that's just an open beach with like a lot of wide open spaces, a lot of long sight lines, and that side is really great for snipers. But I feel like at least in the more claustrophobic modes or the more lower player count modes like domination, team deathmatch, kill confirmed, I feel like it would serve those modes to bring the map in a little bit, slash off that whole section with the beaches so we don't get such crazy sight lines, and no one really goes to the beach side of the map anyway because there's just nothing visually interesting over there. But also that's just really a big flank route with a lot of extra space that really doesn't need to be there if you'd ask me. So yeah, it's things like that, and there's other maps like that too, where it just feels like these maps are super huge, and it just for the more claustrophobic modes, these huge maps just don't serve them. So I'd like to see maybe some variants of these bigger maps that cut off a couple sections in order for the game flow to be a little bit better. And then also some of the modes that they have in here, they have this, I think it's called Combined Arms mode, where it's kind of like War in Call of Duty World at War, which I didn't get to play because by the time I played that game, no one was playing it online anymore. But basically the whole premise is, think domination, but instead of 3 flags that are completely open for anybody to capture the whole game, it is now 1 flag in the middle. And it's kind of like there was a mode in Uncharted multiplayer similar to this that I remember, but everyone has to get to that one control point in the middle of the game or in the middle of the map, and then whoever catches that control point, the next one progresses deeper and deeper into the enemy spawn. So let's say I'm on, you know, the red team, and I captured the first objective for the red team to win. Then that next objective that spawns, that next domination flag that I have to capture, is going to be spawning a little bit deeper into the blue team spawn. But we can also build momentum, so once we catch that once we capture that flag, that momentum carries with us into the next flag. So we capture that flag a little bit faster, but it kind of balances out because since it's deeper into blue spawn, it should be harder to even get in there anyway. We just have to spend less time in there with the momentum accounted for. So that mode seems like it would be fun, and the higher player count kind of balances the map design a little bit better because, you know, all that open space is full of players. But the fact that there are vehicles in this mode just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I know vehicles are, especially in these bigger wide open game modes, vehicles do make sense, but there's just such little. The individual player is so powerless to a vehicle. Like, yes, you can get launchers, and yes, your bullets do damage to the tanks, but it takes so much ammo to take out a tank. Whether you have a launcher or just a gun, it takes so much to take out a tank that it just doesn't feel right. And tanks have such, I mean, tanks should be powerful, of course, but when you're up against a tank, if you're on the snowmobile, you're dying in one hit. If you're walking as a regular player, you're dying in one hit. If you're in another tank, you're dying in not that many hits. Like, even tanks against themselves are not that resilient. So yeah, the tank damage is always very high. The tank damage is just really high. I think that's just the main thing, where it feels like there's no chance if there's a tank in front of you. So I would maybe either I wouldn't say tone down the power of the tanks, just make there be more viable options against the tank so it doesn't feel like a match that's over before it even starts, you know? And I think that's pretty much all I have. I'm going to play some more of this. There's a second weekend of the beta going on. Depending on when I put this video out, that second weekend might be happening now, or it's already happened. But in either case, you guys will be able to try it out. for free, if you want to take the time out to try that. And I'm still split on whether or not I'm picking this game up at launch. Like, it's a Call of Duty game. I'm going to play it at some point. I will be buying this because I've bought every single Call of Duty game since Call of Duty 4, and I've played all of them. So, I will get into this at some point. Probably by the time I get to PS5, I'll probably wait and just get that version, whatever it is. But this game just doesn't feel like urgent for me right now, because I'm still enjoying Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare is actually the first Call of Duty game that I've played throughout a year, where usually I play these games a lot. The last couple years I play these games a whole lot, and then I think 6 months into the life cycle I just peter off for whatever reason. But because of the really consumer friendly model where they have that battle pass is the only thing I feel pressured to spend money on, and then outside of that all the maps are free, all the new modes are free, even the new weapons that are added in the battle pass are free. At that point I'm getting so much for free that I feel like I want to reward myself by paying for the battle pass, because then it gives me something to work for. So yeah, I've been playing Modern Warfare the whole year. So I don't know if it's because I've been playing this game more consistently than other Call of Duty titles that my thirst for a new one is just much lower, or if there's something up with Black Ops Cold War, because the game's solid, but it's still not like exciting me. It's still not getting me like, oh my god, I gotta get the new CoD, because I've been playing CoD for a whole year at this point. So we'll see. The jury's out on if I'll pick this up at launch. I imagine right now my verdict is I'm probably gonna pick this up on sale in a couple months. Once it's like $40 at Best Buy or something like that, I'll probably run through it. And I'll probably also cancel my tradition. I usually get all these games physical because I have my little physical collection here, and I stack up all the games, and like, I own every Call of Duty game since 4. I feel so accomplished. But with these multiplayer games, I play them so often, it makes more sense for me to just own them digitally. So this might be the one where I break the tradition, and instead of, because I've repurchased a lot of these digitally at this point. Like, I think I own like Modern Warfare this year I bought digitally, even despite having a disc. So I think this one might be the one where I finally come through and just get it digitally only, and just give up on the physical collector's aspect. But yeah, that's pretty much what my verdict is. I really want to see more of the single player campaign, because that's another thing I'm concerned about Treyarch, their single player campaigns. Black Ops 4, notwithstanding, because that didn't really have a single player campaign, but I feel like the Black Ops campaigns always have a tinge of meanness to them. They're always a little bit more violent than they need to be, and have a little bit more nihilistic of a worldview than I would like. Even if some, like Infinite Warfare I've talked about, that's my favorite campaign in the series. That game is kind of depressing and kind of sad, but it still has like an overall optimistic tone, even if it is still just, military hoorah. It has a more uplifting tone that I appreciate. And so because of that, I tend to flock to that more. With the Black Ops games, they're always fun action rides, but I'm never like excited or happy about the narratives themselves. So we'll see what happens with Black Ops. Seems like they're going to take a lot more experiments in the structure of the campaign again. So it seems like there's going to be some branching paths, or maybe some non-linear structures. So we'll see what happens gameplay wise there. But time will tell. This game comes out in just about a month. Maybe a little less than a month by the time you're hearing this. But yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of it. And we'll see if even zombies I don't care about too much. Clearly there's a lot stacked up against me buying this game day one. But we'll just see how good the game turns out. They got a lot to do before launch, and they probably even got more to add after. So we'll see what happens there. But that's enough from me. I've talked plenty. And once again, hopefully you've enjoyed the gameplay. Hopefully I'm not too trash at this game. But that's all I'm going to say today. This has been Emmett Watkins Jr. from VGU.TV. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for supporting the content. I'll probably be talking about this on the Players Club podcast as well. So come through over on our website and listen to that. But that's enough from me. And without further ado, as I always say, keep it real, keep it trill. Peace out, y'all. Stay safe.